In the last episode, you saw that the chicks had been kicked out of the brooder and moved into the coop. Stay tuned for an in-depth view on how we coop train our chickens, as well as a general chick status update. Let's recap how we got here. By the time your baby chicks are 4 weeks old, you should have weaned them from the heat lamps by dropping the heat lamp temperatures by 5 to 10 degrees each week until we reach the ambient air temperature of the room. The chicks' feathers should also be almost fully grown in to protect them from the cold. The next step is to move them from the brooder to the coop and start the coop training. We approach coop training in 3 phases: Coop Lockdown, Coop Run and Return, and Free Range and Return. The Coop Lockdown phase starts at 4 weeks. The chicks get evicted from the brooder and physically locked inside the chicken coop with no access to an outside run. This gets them acclimated to where their home is, how to use the inside coop ladders and roosts, and allows for the pecking order to settle in. If you were adding a new adult birds to your flock, you can typically get away with this lockdown being as little as 1 week. But with 4-week-old chicks, we need to give them a little more time to learn. This also lets the chicks get a little bit bigger before getting introduced to the other hens. You must introduce them gradually, or the older hens will attack, injure, and possibly kill the new birds. We allot 4 weeks for this home training. Coop Run and Return training. At 6 weeks of age, I build a small run for the birds to let them wander out of the coop with cage protection. At this age, they are still very small and susceptible to attack from the bigger chickens and other predators, even cats and dogs. This run training gets them used to leaving the coop and coming outside, and then returning to the safety of the coop as the daylight fades. Don't be alarmed if they don't want to leave the coop the first day. Don't force them out, let them settle in by venturing out on their own. You will notice only a few birds will be brave enough to leave the coop the first day. If you have other birds, this is where they will be introduced via the protection of the run. As it gets dark, you will want to be sure to have some kind of light on inside the coop. The birds are night blind and will be naturally drawn to the light as it gets darker outside. You will need to wrangle most of the birds back in the coop the first day, and then remember to lock them in till the next morning. You will repeat this training for 2 weeks or until all the birds catch on to returning back inside the coop without help by nightfall. Free range and return. This is where we remove the run fencing and let them truly free range. The birds should be at least medium grown before you do this. The bigger they are, the least susceptible they are to hawks and other predators. If you have other grown birds, they will be introduced to one another and start their pecking order. Fights and attacks will happen. I generally start this phase an hour before dark on the first day. This causes them not to wander or be chased too far from the coop. Every night, we'll go out a little past dark to wrangle all the new birds into the coop and check all the corners and crevices for any roosting birds. All birds must be locked up after dark, or they will turn into a pile of feathers by the morning. There are lots of nasty things that come out at night. They will eat any eggs or birds that have been left out. We continue this nightly ritual until we have a couple of days in a row where all the birds put themselves away. If you forget to put them away, you will lose birds. At least that's how it is on our farm. Sometimes you have 1 or 2 birds that are hard-headed. If they don't figure it out by 2 weeks, I generally tend to just leave them out, and they will end up culling themselves by the next morning. And then you no longer have a problem. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and click the bell so that you can be notified when we post the next video.